Welcome in to the Roll Tide Rewind. We appreciate you joining us here. If you like what you see, please drop a comment and give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,200 subscribers, so we appreciate the support. Today, we're going to break down some Germie Bernard film and talk about his strengths, weaknesses, and where we see him going in the NFL draft. We did a video on Ty Simpson yesterday, so be sure to check that one out. Filming this on April 4th. This comes out on April 7th. But not much of these projections are going to change. The film obviously isn't going to change because the season's over with already, but the projections, most of them won't change. So that's why I went ahead and filmed this a little bit early. But Germie Bernard, 6'1", 206 pounds, 4 years of college. He had 2 years starting at Alabama, had almost over 100 catches, 1,650 yards receiving, and also had 5 rushing touchdowns. Was used a lot in the offense, whether it be wildcat sweeps, behind him a running back, slot receiver, outside receiver. He lined up everywhere. But he's a very experienced guy. I think had a year at Michigan State, a year at Washington, and then 2 years at Alabama. So let's start with the film. This is Bengals Brews All 22 film. We appreciate them posting on X, and people like us will use it. This is Germie Bernard against LSU, but Germie Bernard is very effective at the intermediate routes. His route running is spectacular. His hands are good. He only had, I think, 3 drops this year, very, very low number. And he stands out a lot in the film, but his route cutting is exceptional. But yeah, the intermediate routes of between the 15 and 20 yard routes, this one is like a mini kind of like in route, almost runs it like a post, but he makes a great cut inside there. And it's a mix of zone and man coverage that he's able to kind of dig into there, but also good after the catch as well. This is a great throw from Ty Simpson, but it's a great route by Bernard, able to bounce off the safety here and able to go up and make extra yardages after the catch, almost 10 yards after the catch. We'll see here, great off the ball. Another zone play, finds a little hole into the zone, able to catch it as he's going down. It's not the best throw from Ty Simpson, but he's still able to ring it in for a catch. Florida State was probably, honestly, his best game of film, and it was the first game of the year. But it was a game where Alabama had to pass the ball a lot, and he really, really stood out. Comes off very well here. But yeah, as you can see here with the lining up, he's getting motioned, and he's kind of off the tight end's hip as this play is started, and he runs a corner route and is able to catch not a great throw, but is able to get the pass caught. Another thing about Germie Bernard is he's actually a pretty good blocker. A lot of these receivers you'll see are not good blockers, but because, you're ultra elite athleticism, sometimes you don't really need to be a good blocker, or else they won't necessarily care if you're a good blocker or not because you're as good a receiver as anybody else. But Bernard isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. We'll go up and hit the safeties, go up and hit the linebackers, as you see there. We'll see on this next play here. Gets press coverage immediately from the get-go and makes a great catch on the sideline. This was like on Alabama's second drive of the year. Ty trusts his receiver, and he throws it outside, and he's able to come back and keep his feet in bounds and make a great catch. It's a great throw, but keeping the feet in bounds is ultra impressive there. Lining up in the slot right here. Good route. It's like this is a zone coverage, so they're both trying to account for these two receivers. Once Bernard lets Isaiah Horton go by, makes a great cut and gets the first down on like a second and short. And he's able to not just catch and go right down, he's able to get almost an extra 5 yards there on a play where he really shouldn't have gotten any extra yardage. Another blocking play. Like I said, not afraid to get his hands dirty. Not bad technique either for Bernard. Good catch there, and this is then the pouring down rain. Not a great throw, and he's able to come back and make a good play. This is him, another play of him finding holes in the zone. Good route, and he's able to get upfield and get an extra almost 15 yards on the play. And kind of same deal here, finding the holes in this. Well, this isn't finding a hole in the zone plus some man coverage as well. But again, the intermediate routes for Germie Bernard is where he excels. And you can see here, catches it, stops on a dime, should have probably got 2 extra yardage, and 2 extra yards ends up with getting over 15, catches at the 38-yard line, is able to get all the way to the 44. So that's, over like 18 yards after the catch for Bernard, which I think that's where he plays a big role. Again, this is the finding the hole in the zone. And then same kind of deal. Shouldn't really get much yardage after that, but ends up getting maybe 3 or 4 yards where he really should have got 0. This play, he's actually coming across the field, like his usual intermediate routes. And Ty, good for him, waiting for these defenders to come up. So a lot of this play is helpful by the quarterback because these defenders here, you're not really going to make this throw, but as Ty comes up in the pocket, these defenders, these two right here, morph closer to the quarterback, and Bernard stays with his route, and that's enough for Ty to get the ball to Germie Bernard. And you can see here on this play, he lines up at halfback. This video is from NFL Draft Files, but Bernard is lined up at halfback, motions out, and it's a screen pass for Bernard, kind of like a wide receiver mid-screen, and he breaks off a tackle, breaks 2 tackles, and is into the end zone for a touchdown. So this is, I think, where the best of his ability is brought out, kind of in the open space, kind of lining him up in all weird directions. That's where Bernard really excelled for Alabama, lining up at all these different positions. This is against South Carolina from 2 years ago. That's Jalen Milroe as the quarterback. Again, intermediate routes are Bernard's specialty. The route running is there. And then this play right here showcases his after the catch ability really, really well. Finds the hole, gets the catch at the 40, and instead of getting tackled kind of at the 45, he makes the play all the way to the other 35. So in a play where he realistically should have got maybe 5 yards after the catch, he's getting almost 25 yards after the catch, and sets up your team going from, just an opponent territory to now you're kind of marching on the door field goal range. Well, for Alabama, we don't really know where field goal range is. Again, on this play, he's lined up at halfback, and they motion him, and he gets the catch. Brian Williams misses a block. It doesn't really matter. Bernard makes a great play, follows, and kind of zigzags through his blockers to get upfield for a good play. But you see in these clips that Bernard can be utilized pretty much anywhere, outside, slot, halfback, motion. Bernard fits it. He can play a lot of different positions. I know on the strengths here, I said can be used out of the backfield. He can be used in a lot of different ways. Great in the short quick passing game. That's where he excelled the most, was catching those short intermediate routes and turning them into bigger gains, or just even 3 or 4 extra yardage. That's what he was great in doing. For weaknesses with Bernard, he isn't really a vertical threat. I know on one of those plays, I showed him doing great against the press and making a catch on the sideline, but he wasn't used much as a vertical threat. Now, is this because Alabama couldn't throw the ball deep, because the offensive line issues, because we were questioning Ty Simpson's ability, or was it the receivers? We don't know that, but as of right now, that's what we know. He was great at finding holes in the zone, but he wasn't great at defeating the press. So a lot of these plays you saw was Bernard hitting holes in the zone, but not really killing teams on man-to-man coverage. So we'll see how that develops. Maybe it was the routes in the system Alabama was running, and that's why we saw a lot more zone than anything, but we'll see. For Bernard, let's look at projections. A lot of what I've seen is early to late second round. Let's go over the teams the mock drafts that I have. So if NFL.com actually has Bernard going to the 3rd round, 73rd overall to the Saints. Now, that is the lowest that I've seen him. In the other mock drafts, CBS has him 48th overall, which is 2nd round. All these others are 2nd round. 48th to the Falcons. I'm a Falcons fan, so wouldn't mind. ESPN has him 2nd round, 54th overall to the Eagles. Tankathon 42nd to the Saints. Walter Football 48th to the Falcons. So those teams, like the Eagles, if they are losing A.J. Brown, you have a need that immediately comes in. Obviously, he's not going to replace A.J. Brown, but he adds a lot of fluidity in that offense with Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith. He adds another layer of, hey, this guy can catch the ball. Screen passes helps Jalen Hurts a lot. So maybe he's a good fit in that offense that, is more pound and ground and not we're trying to beat you with a deep ball every single play. I love the 49ers, though. I feel like he matches the vibe of that offense very, very well. He's not projected to them in any of these, but if the 49ers have a 2nd round pick and he's available, I think that could be a place where Bernard goes, because Kyle Shanahan loved that Deebo Samuel type role where he's getting sweeps, he's one of your best receivers. He can run the ball, be like a running back that lines up at receiver. And I feel like he would view Germie Bernard in that way. The Falcons, like we mentioned, they have projected in 2 of these. The Falcons just lost Darnell Mooney. The receiving core is a little thin. It makes sense to draft a guy like Bernard because you need to fill that void of the lost receiver. The Falcons don't have a first-round draft pick, so if they're in the second and third round and Bernard is still there, I don't see it being out of the ordinary for the Falcons to go after Bernard. The Lions were said by some people because it's mostly because of how their offenses ran. Same thing with the Bears because of Ben Johnson's offense. But the Lions have multiple good receivers. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Isaac Tesla, and Jameson Williams. They have 3 good receivers. And then the same thing with the Bears. You have Roma Dunze, Luther Burden Jr. You have multiple players there, Colston Loveland as well. Looking into it, the Vikings possibly could be a fit. They really need a wide receiver 3 to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. I think that's not a bad fit. And then also the last team I'll mention that has been mentioned here is the Saints. The Saints have needs at receiver. They don't have like a for certain number 1 receiver. Chris Olave maybe is your guy, but he hasn't been as effective the past few years. I think a lot of that's due to injuries, but that's another team to watch out for. It seems to be a favorite among these mock draft analysts, but also the Falcons too. And then the Eagles, like I said, is a very interesting option. But what do you think of Germie Bernard? I know with his senior highlight video that I made, a lot of NFL fans are commenting on there what different teams they want him to go to. What team do you think Germie Bernard is going to be drafted by? And what team is the best fit? Do you want your team to be drafting Germie Bernard? And also, where do you see him going in the draft? But leave your thoughts in the comments below. Would really appreciate the love. And also if you like what you see on the channel, give us a subscription. We may do some more NFL breakdown videos before the NFL draft, which is in about 20 days from when I'm filming. So maybe do Josh Cuevas, Tim Keenan, LT Overton, or some of the other guys. But yeah, we'll see. But until then, I hope everyone has a great rest of your week and roll Tide.